Imagine a king whose mind was so fractured that his own people believed he was possessed by the devil himself. Meet Charles VI of France, a monarch whose descent into madness turned palaces into prisons and plunged a nation into chaos. They called him Charles the Fou, the Mad King. But his curse wasn't born of dark magic or divine wrath. It was something far more sinister, etched into the blood of his royal line. This is the chilling tale of how a dynasty's obsession with power and purity crafted a king whose broken mind nearly shattered France, leaving scars that bled for generations. If you're ready to uncover the shocking secrets of royal madness that history books dare not reveal, hit that subscribe button and brace yourself for a journey into the heart of a king's torment and a kingdom's ruin. 1. The Mind That Shattered. In 1380, an 11-year-old boy named Charles VI ascended the throne of France, a golden-haired prince hailed as the savior of a war-torn kingdom. By his 20s, he was a vision of royalty, tall, charming, and bold, leading hunts and dazzling his court with promises of glory. But in the summer of 1392, in the stifling heat of Le Mans forest, that vision crumbled. During a military march, Charles's eyes widened with terror. He screamed of invisible traitors, drew his sword, and turned on his own knights, cutting down 4 before his men could wrestle him to the ground. The court froze in horror. Their king, the hope of France, was frothing at the mouth, his mind unmoored. This was no fleeting outburst. Charles's sanity began to slip like sand through a broken hourglass. For weeks at a time, he forgot his own name, insisting he was George, a commoner, or a saint sent by God. He sprinted through the corridors of the Hotel St. Paul, howling like a wolf, forcing guards to barricade doors to contain him. His queen, Isabeau of Bavaria, wrote tear-soaked letters describing how her husband stared at her and their children as if they were ghosts, his eyes vacant and cold. Diplomats reported his speech dissolving into gibberish, a king's commands reduced to mad rants. What caused this collapse? The Valois dynasty's tangled bloodline held the answer. For centuries, French royals married cousins to cement alliances, weaving a genetic tapestry fraught with flaws. Charles's parents, Charles V and Joanna Bourbon, were distant cousins, as were his grandparents and great-grandparents. Modern scholars believe Charles suffered from schizophrenia or porphyria, disorders that inbreeding can amplify. His mind wasn't bewitched. It was betrayed by the very blood that made him king, a genetic poison brewing in the veins of France's mightiest dynasty. 2. A body betrayed by blood. Charles's madness was only the beginning. His body, too, bore the scars of a tainted lineage. In his youth, he was a picture of vigor, hunting stags and dancing at feasts. But by his 30s, that vigor faded. His golden hair fell out in clumps, leaving a scalp so patchy that valets hid it with velvet caps. His once fair skin turned sallow, pocked with sores that oozed and refused to heal. Court physicians noted his hands shook violently, even in lucid moments, as if his nerves were at war with his flesh. The most haunting symptom was his glass delusion, a rare psychosis where Charles believed his body was made of fragile crystal. He shrieked at servants not to touch him, convinced a single nudge would shatter him into pieces. To ease his terror, tailors sewed wool padding into his robes, but he still curled into corners, clutching himself, whispering, "I'll break, I'll break." This delusion, now linked to genetic neurological disorders, turned a king's strength into a nightmare of fragility. Palace chronicles paint a grim picture of his decline. Charles's frame withered until his ribs jutted like a famine victim's, and his legs grew so weak he stumbled during processions, leaning on courtiers like an old man. At feasts, he forgot how to eat, staring at plates or spitting out food, claiming it was laced with poison. Servants whispered of nights when he clawed at his sores until they bled, leaving crimson stains on royal linens. The Valois blood, meant to forge an unbreakable dynasty, had instead crafted a king whose body was crumbling as fast as his mind, a living ruin of royal ambition. 3. The Throne That Crumbled. A king's duty is to rule, but Charles's madness left France adrift in a sea of treachery. During his dark spells, which could last months, he was unfit to govern, locked in his chambers while rival factions tore the kingdom apart. The Burgundians, led by John the Fearless, and the Armagnacs, loyal to the royal family, waged a brutal power struggle, their feud spilling into Paris's streets as blood ran in the gutters. Charles's wife Isabeau was thrust into the role of regent, but her efforts to mediate were drowned in accusations of infidelity and betrayal, branding her a traitor in the eyes of many. The crisis deepened with Charles' failure to secure his dynasty. He and Isabeau had 12 children, but half died in infancy or childhood, their frail bodies hinting at the same genetic curse that plagued their father. The surviving heir, the Dauphin Charles, later Charles VII, faced a father who, in his madness, disowned him. In 1420, during a rare lucid moment clouded by manipulation, Charles signed the Treaty of Troyes, a catastrophic betrayal that named England's Henry V as his heir, handing France's crown to a foreign king and disinheriting his own son. This act, born of a shattered mind, lit the fuse for the 100 Years' War's bloodiest phase. The court's desperation bred bizarre remedies. Physicians bled Charles with leeches until he fainted, believing they were purging evil humors. They fed him mercury, which only worsened his tremors and sores, leaving his lips blackened. Alchemists brewed potions of crushed pearls and herbs, claiming they would restore his sanity, but they only burned his throat. The Valois dynasty's insistence on royal marriages had birthed a king whose mind couldn't bear the weight of a crown, and his failures turned France into a battlefield, its people caught in the crossfire of a mad king's legacy. 4. Exorcisms in the shadow of God. When science failed, the Church declared Charles's madness the work of Satan himself. By 1398, the royal chapel in Paris became a theater of spiritual warfare, hosting public exorcisms that shook the court to its core. Bishop Pierre d'Arcis, a zealot with eyes like burning coals, led the rituals, strapping Charles to a wooden chair as the king thrashed and wailed. Nobles and foreign envoys watched in uneasy silence as priests chanted Latin prayers, their voices echoing off stone walls, while holy water was splashed across Charles's trembling face. These were no quiet rites. Incense clouds choked the air, so thick that courtiers coughed and wept. Priests forced Charles to drink vials of sacred wine laced with ground-up relics, bones of saints that crunched in his throat. He vomited violently, his body heaving, as Bishop d'Arcis shouted that demons were fleeing. In one ritual, priests pressed iron crosses against Charles's chest until his skin blistered, claiming they were burning out the devil. Charles's screams filled the palace, a sound that haunted servants for years. The madness peaked in 1403, when the court, convinced the palace itself was cursed, launched a purge. Servants tore down tapestries, burned ancient books, and smashed mirrors, believing they harbored evil spirits. A bonfire blazed in the courtyard, its smoke curling like a dragon's breath, as priests prayed for deliverance. Charles, in fleeting moments of clarity, begged for the rituals to end, his voice weak and broken, but the church pressed on, exploiting his suffering to tighten its grip on a fracturing kingdom. These exorcisms didn't save Charles, they shattered him further, proving that faith alone couldn't mend a mind broken by blood. 5. The legacy of a broken king. When Charles VI died in 1422 at age 53, France was a kingdom in tatters, its fields soaked with the blood of civil war and English conquest. His body, laid out for examination in the dim light of the royal crypt, revealed a truth more terrifying than any demon. Royal surgeon Jean de Vaudetar's report described organs ravaged beyond recognition, a liver blackened and shriveled, a stomach shrunken to the size of a child's fist, and lungs filled with foul fluid. Most chilling was his brain, swollen with fluid and discolored, its tissue marred by lesions that explained his lifelong madness. The findings sent shockwaves through Europe. How could a man survive with such ruin inside him? Physicians marveled that his heart, described as no larger than a child's, had beaten for so long. Some clung to tales of witchcraft, but the truth was crueler. The Valois bloodline, thickened by generations of cousin marriages, had poisoned Charles from within. His madness wasn't a divine curse, it was a dynasty's hubris, a genetic debt that came due in the mind of a king. Charles's death left France divided, with his son Charles VII fighting to reclaim a throne stolen by English claimants. The 100 Years' War raged on, its fires stoked by the Mad King's failures. Yet his story endures as a grim warning. Even the mightiest crowns can crumble when blood turns toxic. Want to uncover more royal tragedies hidden in history's shadows? Drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, and join us for the next dark chapter, 'cause the past still has secrets to tell. 6. Fascinating perspectives and lessons learned. Charles VI's tragic reign offers more than a tale of madness. It's a mirror reflecting the fragility of power, the limits of human understanding, and the perils of bloodlines pushed to their breaking point. From the ashes of his story, unique perspectives emerge, each shedding light on the shadows of history and the lessons that echo into our modern world. Perspective 1. Madness as a political weapon. In the 15th century, Charles's madness wasn't just a personal tragedy. It was a tool. Rival factions like the Burgundians and Armagnacs exploited his dark spells to seize power, turning his disability into a chessboard for their ambitions. Even his wife, Isabeau, faced accusations of treachery as she navigated the court's chaos. This reveals a chilling truth. Mental illness, especially in a ruler, could be weaponized, transforming a king's suffering into a catalyst for war. Today we see echoes of this in how leaders' health is scrutinized, reminding us that vulnerability in power can ignite chaos. Perspective 2. The clash of faith and reason. The court's turn to exorcisms reflects a time when madness was seen as demonic rather than medical. Priests like Bishop Pierre Darcy wielded more influence than physicians, their rituals overshadowing early attempts at understanding mental illness. Yet Charles's symptoms, delusions, paranoia, tremors, align with modern diagnoses like schizophrenia or porphyria, disorders we now know can be worsened by genetic factors. His story marks a turning point in history's slow shift from superstition to science, urging us to question how fear of the unknown shapes our responses to human suffering. Perspective 3. The hidden cost of dynastic ambition. The Valois dynasty's cousin marriages, while less extreme than the Habsburgs, carried a hidden price. Charles's frail children and his own neurological collapse hint at a bloodline stretched thin by the pursuit of pure alliances. His reign forces us to confront the human cost of dynastic greed, where power trumped health and children paid for their ancestors' choices. In our era, advances in genetics remind us to heed this lesson as we grapple with the ethics of inherited diseases and the responsibility to future generations. Lesson 1. Mental health demands compassion, not condemnation. Charles was called Le Fou, mocked and feared, his pain met with chains and holy water rather than care. His story challenges us to treat mental illness with empathy, not stigma. Modern science offers treatments Charles could only dream of, but only if we prioritize understanding over judgment, a lesson as vital now as it was then. Lesson 2. Power must be balanced with accountability. Charles's madness left France leaderless, exposing the dangers of unchecked monarchy. When a ruler falters, systems must exist to protect the realm. His reign underscores the need for governance that balances authority with accountability, a principle that resonates in today's debates about leadership and stability. Lesson 3. Bloodlines are not destiny. The Valois believed their blood made them divine, but it brought them ruin. Charles's genetic curse reminds us that no lineage is immune to nature's laws. Today, genetic research empowers us to break cycles of inherited disease, but only if we learn from the past and prioritize health over pride. Charles VI's life, a tapestry of torment and tragedy, holds up a mirror to our own time. His shattered mind and broken body warn us of the dangers of hubris, the power of compassion, and the fragility of even the grandest thrones. Want to dive deeper into history's darkest corners? Drop a comment, smash that subscribe button, And join us for more tales of crowns and curses, because the past still whispers its secrets.